Good day, beautiful people, and welcome to Minerals Monday Live. Today we are having a fascinating topic. We're going to be diving deep into how it is that jewels or regular everyday rocks became a prize for the monarchical class. And we're going to be meeting a guy named Claude Travasseneur from France, and how he came to have discovered or have in his possession the largest blue diamond ever discovered on planet Earth, the Hope Diamond, which is now currently in the Smithsonian Institute. And I'm wondering if his name has a connection to the word travesty, which is to have a demise or ending of demise, because after he obtained and sold the Blue Hope Diamond to Prince Louis IV of France, both he and the king fell to a bad end. So today we're talking all about the politics of diamonds and how it is that was once a jewel was a reverence and an offering in a spiritual temple of the god, and how that jewel was rumored to have been stolen from the temples in Punjabi in pre-Hellenic India. That's right, in the north of India in the 3000 BC, which is over 5,000 years ago. The greatest kingdom on earth was the continent of India, because the amount of jewels where the continents come together of Asia and India is a huge stash of jewels and gemstones. And in the ancient days, it was the temples in North India who produced the most fabulous stones. And Northern India dynasty was the most powerful dynasty on earth. Hi, everybody. My name's Alexia. It's great to see you all today. Don't be shy. We have a wonderful group of chatters in the live stream. I welcome you all. So we have a mixture in this channel of both using the tarot cards for politics and also mineralogy. And before we do our political tarot reading, because today we're going to be taking a trip to Colorado and looking at Lauren Buber and her candidacy for 2022. So that's who we're going to be reading on today. And I'm so excited to read about Colorado because they've come up with a big storm. I'm going to ask one question about that Blue Hope Diamond. Now, there are many facts that we know about diamonds. We can use carbon dating to date them because they do have carbon in their elemental makeup chemistry. However, we have no way of knowing actually how old the stone was in the possession of the ancients. We can only imagine that it is more than 6,000 years old. And so what I would like to do, because we have no way of knowing who cut this rock when it was discovered, I'm going to ask our cards, and thank you, Spirit, for showing us some of the great ancient mysteries about how rocks became jewels because they were a possession used by man as an offering to the gods and goddesses, and how that became changed and the stone became a prize for the royals and crown jewels to subjugate others, and how ultimately the Blue Hope diamond ended up in Marie Antoinette's presence. And how is that blue diamond responsible for her trip to the guillotine? Her and her husband. There's Marie Antoinette and King Louis XVI of France at the guillotine after possessing the Hope diamond, which is allegedly cursed. Because it is said that when one steals from the temple of the god, he whoever possesses the stone is cursed because they stole a sacred stone. I know it sounds a lot like a Harrison Ford movie and the Temple of Doom episode, but the truth is there's no way we know from carbon dating how old the rock has been in the possession of man when it was actually discovered as a raw rock, and who cut this stone. So I would like to look at the original gem cutter, because my assumption is that even as this blue diamond, a 44 carat diamond, and just to give you a sense of how large a 44 carat rock is, this rose quartz that I'm holding in the palm of my hand is about the size of that rock. That is how big that Blue Hope diamond is. This rock is about 45 carats, and the Blue Hope diamond is just over 44.5 carats large. Wow. Humanity is all about belief systems. The rock just sat there that whole time until humans possessed it and made it an object of lust and greed. Did that rock become cursed? And that's why we're going to be talking about the energetics of rocks here today, and diamonds, and how diamonds are not always your friend. Now, today we're going to look at, I would like to look at who cut this rock. Who cut this rock and when did they cut it? How many thousands of years ago, and how many years ago? And remember, we're in AD, we're in 2021 AD. So how many thousands of years ago was this rock cut? What time was the rock cut? What time? How many thousands? This is the thousands position. I told you 6,000. There's 6,000. How many hundreds of years? This Nostradamus deck is so accurate. It's freaky. How many hundreds? 6,000. And how many hundreds of years ago? 6,000 and how many hundreds of years ago? It's the number 14. So that's not a hundredths place. That is the rule of the hierarchical class. And remember how we said the belief systems is changed so that at that time they believed that the rock had healing powers. See how this is the temperance, the number 14? When they cut the sacred stone, they were using it for healing. They were using it to heal the sick. That's what that's saying. And yes, it is over 6,000 years old. That was the hundredths position. And how many decades exactly? The Seven of Spheres, a very unusual card. This corresponds to the Seven of Pentacles in the modern tarot deck. This is actually the card of an argument. You see how the man is protecting the sick girl? In this card, they're healing the sick with the rock. See the man with the blue robe? He's got the blue stone, and he's using it for a ceremony of healing. And here's the very same girl, the very same girl, the poor woman. She's a little girl, and this is her father arguing with the man about the science or the belief systems. Now, in this deck, the suit of spheres is the card of the alchemist. So at that time, these were alchemists. The alchemists were using the stone for healing. It's over 6,000 years old. And to the day, here is another 7. The 7 of stars is a number of spirit. And this is the actual card of stealing. So what this is saying is, yes, the healers had their rock stolen. They had the rock was eventually stolen. Okay. So that is what the universe is telling us about the stone. Very fascinating. Now we're going to look at who cut this stone over 6,000 years ago. Let's take a look at the stone cutter. Somebody cut this rock. Somebody cut the rock, because I've been doing character spreads, and I would love to do a character spread on a person from the past. This was a young person, somebody very young and very talented with their fingers, who was working in the temple. See how it was their job? They're holding the rod because they have the tool and the skill and the mastery of the gemology. See how this young person has their emblem that they were in a union inside of this temple. Okay, so let's see who cut that very blue diamond, and what ended up happening to them was they became very famous. They had a lot of good fortune in the end. And here is the character of this young person. Could be a woman, because in the olden days, in pre-Hellenic times, actually women were the keepers at the temple, the priestesses. Here is a reading on the gemstone cutter of the original person. All right. Hi, everybody. We're back. Okay, we lost a mic connection. All right, so this is the reading on the gem cutter who cut the original Blue Hope diamond. Okay? This is basically his life. He actually came from a place of strife. He had a very hard upbringing. There was a lot of hardship and loss and heartbreak within his family, because this young person most likely had a very high skill set and couldn't remain at home with the family. Back in the olden days, a child was like 9 or 10 years old, and a person who was of age like 11 or 12 years old was considered an adult. So he had a very strifeful beginning, a hardship, and with too many siblings, because things that 6,000 years ago were largely survival based. He was blessed with the strength and compassion, and also a skill set. So his environment, he was able to be strong and overcome his childhood strife to bring himself to a point of strength in this world. So he chose that. He liked diamonds because he found that his love of rocks and his love of was for diamonds, because they are the strongest and hardest rock that they had found. So his strength of character was that he absolutely loved the diamond. He loved the diamond for its hardness, and he had the skill of being able to take that hardest stone and cut it. And see how he had to use the nine cuts. He had to be very highly skilled in knives. This also says that he may have been actually tortured at some point in his childhood, that he really did experience an intense trauma. And the rock, as we saw in the Nostradamus deck, was used in the ancients as the blue rock for healing. So I do believe that he may have needed a healing from a trauma, and that somehow his fortune in life brought him or her, and this does look like a woman, that this brought this woman, this young woman, into the position to be chosen to cut the rock. So what this is saying is that she was chosen by the temple priestesses because she was in very high favor with her spiritual practice. So this woman was a spiritual healer. See the sunflower that she's holding in her hand? The sunflower is, once again, in the ancient deck, the sun is the symbol of transmutation. There's a difference between transforming oneself and transmutation through chemistry, an actual change. And so the sunflower is saying that the herbs and the healing herbs are used for the transmutation power of sickness into health. So she carried the herbology and the transmutational powers of being a temple priestess and a healer and an extremely skilled practitioner. Plus, she came from a place of intense childhood trauma, but she was very skilled with the gems and the other diamonds which she used to cut the gems. And as such, her legacy was that she gifted the gem to the goddess. See how the gem was originally gifted to the goddess of the womb, because the whole world was all about the sanctity of the womb and the change and the transmutation of the creation of life. So she was a life bearer. So she definitely was a woman, and she was in the temple, because then they didn't have so much the classes as they had the temples and the temple castes. And thus she became the worldly woman. That's beautiful. This is her character. This is the woman who cut the stone. She had a very intense father. We got that before, and I'm not surprised to see that she has this tools and mastery of the magician. Look at the 4 character cards. I've never seen such a beautiful angel. She's giving me chills. Look at this. Wow. I'm going to hold my rose quartz and hold it over her because her passing has been very, very long. And no one has probably looked at her for very, very many thousands of years. She had a very intense father who was wealthy. So she came from a family of precious stones. Yes, in the olden days, they didn't have money, but they had rocks. And so they had already developed and had their rocks. So she does come from a lineage of gemology. Her father was a gemologist. He knew his rocks. She was gifted with the ultimate power of transmutation, the ability to heal. See the sunflowers? The sunflowers is the herbology and the medicine. See how aligned she is? This is her. This is her. She was a priestess and a healer. She was a beautiful, and it looks like she had a very fair aspect. Every single card we're getting for her has golden hair. You see that? She may have been of golden hair. A lot of Greeks had golden hair. And she was in northern India, which at the time was a time of the north in Punjabi. So she, once again, she had a very intense relationship with her siblings. But overruled by all of this was her intense ethics. Now, the sun, as you can see, in the original Nostradamus deck, this card is the corona. See the circle around the sun? That is the corona. Outside of the circle is the corona discharge. So the sun is actually a card of the ring, as in the Lord of the Rings. And so her skill, once again, mastery of cutting and metallurgy. She was most likely also gifted in blacksmithing and metallurgy skills because she knew how to set the stones. So here she is, the magician, and here she is, the magic healer with the rock cutting skills that she literally performed magic with her rocks. This is also a card of truth and a card of beliefs, and affirms the validity of this reading. So I would say that she has gifted this reading with so many high cards: the Queen, Strength, the World. See, the world is 2021. The world is 2021. Look, it's 21. This is her final outcome. Is the rock is now on view in the Smithsonian, and she lives on forever energetically as the healer and the cutter, because she was the original faceter. She faceted the stone. Was her glorious victory of her emanation and culmination of her life work, which she offered to the goddess. That's not her, that's the goddess. She offered the rock to the goddess. She was chosen chosen by others, saying, yes, let this woman cut the rock. Yes, she had a background. Her family came from gemologists, and she believed in the preciousness of stones for their healing properties. The sunflower overrules the healing at this time because they were aligned with the spirituality completely. There was no monarchy. These were actually goddess worshippers, and this was not a patriarchal system at that time. There she is, cutting it. She said it was very emotional. See how underneath the blue, she said that it was the most incredible experience to witness the colors of blue coming out from the facets as she took her knife to the stone. In her act of magic, which came from the heart, you see how her moment of victory came from the healing strength of the heart, because she knew that the rose was a gift. But the moment that the knife hit was so critical because it created the precious gem. It was extremely emotional, but she had to put her emotion aside to focus hard on the gem, so that when she took the cut, there was only a limited amount of cuts and that it was polished perfectly. And her character is the magician. They performed magic with this stone. Here she is. They were performing magic rituals 6,000 years ago with the blue diamond stone. Aw, that is so sweet. Now, after we do the political tarot dive to Colorado, because today we're going to Colorado, honey. It's on the weather map. We are going to see how that belief system changed, because somehow in the 15th century, the man stole the rock. This is a legend. The legend is the rock was stolen. And we're going to dive deep into that mystery in about an hour. But first, we've got to go to Colorado. So who's here today? Who's been to Colorado? Who knows Lauren Boebert? Would you like to introduce yourself? You're welcome to say hello. Have you ever been to a political tarot reading before? Are you new? My name is Alexia, and I've been gifted with the ability to work with rocks. I've spent many, many hours inside the halls of the Hearst Mining Hall with my goggles and my little hammers banging on rocks. So I've learned a lot about the energetic property of rocks. And before we begin our series on diamonds, we're going to be going over the mystery of the Hope Diamond, because allegedly it is a cursed rock. And what ended up happening to Marie Antoinette was her ultimate demise at the guillotine. That is correct. We got the Two of Swords for her. Who else here is familiar with tarot? We're going to be taking a look in Colorado today and the future of Lauren Boebert's term. I understand that right now there's quite a few people who are looking at running for election in Colorado, and I would like to look at Lauren Boebert. Since I've been doing these really great character spreads, let's just do a quick dive on Lauren Boebert. At the bottom of Lauren Boebert's reading is the King of Clubs. I'm unfortunate to say that she is basically taking orders from someone else. So she's a follower. So her position is beneath a man. She considers herself underneath or taking orders from the King of Clubs. Right now, she's been in the news a lot. This is the Eight of Clubs. Oh, this has been, there's been a new set of rules set by the House Committee at the Capitol after the insurrection. It seems as though there are fines being issued to members of Congress who are breaking the rules. One of the rules is carrying weapons into the Capitol and also avoiding the metal detectors. So I would say that it looks like she's been getting fined, and we may not have heard about it. These are probably a series of fines against Lauren Buber for breaking the new set of House Committee rules. Once again, her big thing is having somebody else in charge, the King of Cups. This is her saying, I don't make decisions for myself. I let somebody else I vote by a position that is aligned with somebody else. I'm not going to say who here in this reading. This is the recent past, the Queen of Clubs. This is saying that she was recently elected. She is now a congresswoman. However, as you can see in the background is a foreign influence, and it looks like it has a lot of red flags. So this is saying that she's been aligned with the caucus, who has many red flags, who are being called out right now. So she's working basically with guys like Jim Jordan. At this present moment is the Seven of Clubs. This is the Seven of Wands. She thinks, okay, this is her position on gun control. What she's saying is that I'm a one position candidate. I don't really have any candidacy or policies, except that I'm clear about the fact that I carry weapons. Because she recently had a news appearance where she appeared with a lot of weapons in her background that she had changed out, just so it looks like she's heavily armed. And once again, the readings all right now about politics and policy is 100% about the Nine of Cups. Everything is the Nine of Cups. So, hi. Yeah, Kate, did you see that reading with the other reader the other night? She got the Nine of Cups, and then she had to end the reading really, really fast. And I knew we were getting Nine of Cups. So we are going to be reading on the Nine of Cups today. This is saying that she's a member of the group of Nine of Cups. Who is the Nine of Cups? Okay. This is, okay. You know how 99% of America owns a certain percentage, like whatever, 10%. Don't quote me on the numbers on this one. This is the Nine of Cups are the 0.1% of elitists who control the media mostly, but they also control the treasury. So the Nine of Cups are the elitist society. You know, I didn't know that she really is a member of, like, if I say these names, you'll watch my stream crash. So here is where people like a name like a Coca-Cola can, or guys in the banking industry like Mr. Mulberry Street, who likes to dock his yacht, other elitists. So the Nine of Cups is the 9. Now, the 9 doesn't always mean 9 people. It means, yes, 9 people who are meeting in a group. For example, SCOTUS, the Supreme Court is 9 justices. So in the proper aspect, this would be 9 justices. Okay, recently our last live stream read on the 9 of Cups, who were the elite group, and this is where our data stream literally crashed, and I haven't been able to go live since because I started calling out their names. And they were the 9 who went to Moscow on July 4th, 2018. Granger and Danes, etc. So what the reading is saying is that her flagrant display of weapons during her media is basically only to sway emotionally the 9. She's kind of like a want-to-be. She wishes that and she wants to be, because remember, the actual meaning of the 9 of Cups, overseen by the King of Cups, because obviously that's the guy in charge. The 9 of Cups is all about being in an elite society and not part of regular human class. These are people who are above human in her mind. So this is actually a merchant card. And this 9 of Cups is actually the cup of this guy, Claude Travasonneur, who we just read on today, who allegedly stole the Hope Diamond from the temple goddess. Okay, that's the mystery. That's the fable. The fable is that the smug merchant, Claude Travasonneur, stole, just like, one of those movies, he went into the temple and pried the rock out of the statue, the golden statue of the idol, and became the fabulously wealthy man who then, made all that money selling it to King Louis. And all the demise of everyone who came in contact with the Hope Diamond after that. This is Lauren Boebert. Her ultimate MO, her modus of operandi, what she wishes, because actually it's a dream fulfilled. So what this is saying is, when she's reelected, most likely it will be her dream fulfilled to become part of the 9. But right now she's a want-to-be because her wish is not yet fulfilled. She's really, really working with people who carry red flags around, people from China or Russia, that whole group, because ultimately she wants to take her gun lobbying and her stance, because that's her only identifying characteristic, is she carries around weapons, and most likely is getting fined, most likely like those other people in the club, the King of Cups club. So let's take a look at who is the King of Cups. And there's no political tarot reading this week that doesn't include the 9 of Cups. So alert all the readers to be ready for the 9. Who's in charge of the 9? Who's on top of the 9? Show us, Spirit, the 9. The King. Who's in charge of the King? And this is my Russian tarot deck from Yuri Asimov. The King is, 7 of coins. He's a fence walker. He belongs to both factions. The 5 of clubs. Once again, he's putting through legislation. Okay. In Lauren Boebert's mind, the king of clubs are guys like Jim Jordan. They're part of this caucus of GOP members who want to obstruct democracy, especially around voting rights. And right now, what these people are doing is they are mixing. See how they're mixing on these fence walkers? Because we said that ultimately these people like Jim Jordan are fence walkers because I think they realize they're about to get voted out. So she's fence walking between these different caucus members to try to gain acceptance into the group. She's basically trying to warm herself up to guys like Jim Jordan and Daines and Johnson and all those guys, but she doesn't realize that those guys are resigning. A lot of them are like not running for a re-election, like Ron Johnson's not coming back. Okay, because just after the live stream we did and we sent him that Reiki, that was when the news brief came out that Ron Johnson's resigning. So maybe he did get a conscience that night. Who knows? For entertainment purposes only. Okay, so in the interest of efficiency, since we're all short on time and they took an hour away from us, we're going to go straight back into the Hope Diamond reading because I just wanted to check on Lauren Boebert. But we're going to ask the 5 questions and we're going to wrap it up today because I think we've got some extra chores to get ready for this week. All right. Colorado. We send our blessings to Colorado. I hope you guys can replace her with someone legitimate. All right. Now, before we go to the time of this guy, Jean Travassigneau, is there any connection? I'm going to ask the cards because, man, these mystery readings are so much fun. Bang the cards with my stone. Is there a connection between the name Travassigneau and the word travesty, which is now an American word, which was derived from the French? I don't know if you know, a lot of this English is actually French in origin. Is Claude's last name, Travassigneau, connected to the word travesty? Because we know that his demise was horrific in the end. Was this guy Travassigneau's name, his last name, his surname, connected in any way to the word travesty and his ultimate demise after finding the blue diamond? Let's go ahead and cut this deck. Uh-oh. There's the ultimate outcome. It was the beheading of Marie and King Louis XVI. It's again, we read on the 2 of Swords. Those who come in contact with the Blue Hope Diamond ultimately meet their demise. It is currently in the Smithsonian Institute. But those who held it and came in contact with it experienced the curse. Here is the curse of the Blue Diamond, the guillotine, Marie and her husband. Was Jean Travassigneau's, the King of Swords, name connected to the travesty of his ultimate demise? We want to get a positive card here. Now I'm only calling 3 cards. The King of Swords. There it is, his ultimate demise. King Louis of France, the 14th. This was when he went. See how King Louis has his hand? Give me the stone. I'll pay you for it. But it doesn't say his name. Travassigneau was connected. Here he is, the overseas. He had to travel to India to take that rock away. See how he's holding the rock now? See how he's inside the temple and he's just picked that rock out of the statues? Here's these statues. He's looking all around. Look, here's all these jewels on all these statues. Pretty, pretty, pretty. But look at that one, the big fat one. I'm going to just grab it. So his demise is connected to the fact that he stole it and then sold it to King Louis. The goddess justice came for him in the end. Okay, now in this case, his fortune was taken from him. The scale of justice was too far in his favor. He became rich. He became that Nine of Cups, that fat smuggler. He was the smuggler who became fat and rich. And so in order for the scales to even before his death, she took back, that's right, the goddess, from who he stole it. It looks like this fable is true. The story's really, really panning out here in the cards. So let's just look. What did it look like? And I'm pulling out my Nostradamus deck. In the 16th century, 15th and 14th century, in India, allegedly this rock was stolen. Hi, Meryl. Oh, we're reading about the mystery of the blue diamond, and we're looking at the guy who stole it from the temple goddess. He went into the temple and he was beholden by the beauty of the stones, and he stole that rock. And ultimately, all that money he made was all taken away from him, and he died a poor man. So let's look at the time, and we're going to use the Nostradamus deck. And thanks for coming, Mary. It's really nice to meet you. We're looking at the actual time frame when that rock was stolen. We're going to cut the cards, and this deck goes way back to the 15th century. When the rock was stolen, the Two of Moons. When see how we talked about the monarchical class and the ring. Now, the word in Latin and the word that was used back then is the ring is called a corona. And when the king became the ruler, the crown was put onto his head. So the ring around the ruler's head is his coronation. So what this is talking about is that at the time that the rock was stolen, they were to have coronated. There was going to be a coronation. Somebody was going to become king. Oh, no problem, Kate. We'll see you later. Have a great time. Okay. So let's just look at these 3 cards because these cards are so deep. What happened? The story, the fable of the rock. It was the biggest, strongest rock. See, here it is, the strength card. Once again, even Nostradamus said that the blue diamond was the hardest stone they could find. This is the number 11. And in the olden days, the rock was used as a healing stone. And since it was the most precious of all stones, it was used for the coronation. What happened when it was taken is the 4 of Moons. This is the 4 of Cups. Oh, this is a very unusual card. I actually have not seen the 4 of Cups. These were the temple priestesses at the time of the coronation and at the time of the healing. See how she has her, wow, that's a really interesting symbol. Oh, that's the Chinese symbol for the worm and the dragon, the serpent, and the kundalini. So this was a kundalini. A kundalini. The goddess was the goddess of the kundalini, which was the idol of the kundalini. She was being, so the rock at the time that it was taken, you see how it was taken? It was taken from off the idol. And the goddess that it was taken from was the goddess of the Kundalini in Punjab, in North India. Do you see this? That's the spinal column and the energy that runs through the entire chakra system. An outsider came in. See who came in from another place. Somebody who had keys to the temple. Yeah, somebody who broke the rules and the rock. Now you see how overhead are the phases of the moon? That tomb robber, that temple robber came in with the keys on this time of the moon. See what it has to say. Ceres and Persephone of Venus and Mercury. Oenestas. And the moon is underneath the Mars. Okay. Now I am fluent in Latin, you guys. This is the card of prosperity. And the goddess Proserpina gifted prosperity through great health, because then money was not revered. It was the health of the kundalini, and the spirit that was the guide was considered the most precious of all. The goddess and this idol worship the sky and prosperity, and also the father energy. She does. So the grave robber actually was watching the sky and saw this as an opportunity for prosperity of his own. And thus, he performed the act of taking it, what he perceived as an offer. But what was offered was the curse, because ultimately in the stars, now see the sky and the heaven and the stars and the moon, there are no planets. This is once again the time of the dark moon, the time of Sirius and Ceres, the time of the dog star and the Herculean sky above. In the winter, in the northern hemisphere, in the time of the moon, watch of the, this is the half or the full moon. He was able to use the moonlight to see his way into the temple with the keys and take it as an offering. The 10 of stars is his ultimate demise, because this is the goddess. This is saying that she was defiled. At the time he took the stone, he defiled the goddess. It really, everything I'm getting from the cards is that the ancient fable that the Punjabi said of the origin of the blue hope diamond is fairly accurate. It appears as though when the rock was stolen, the curse was put on this rock because it defiled her. So see how the temple goddess had lost something. At the top is this symbol. I have to show this to you. It's the symbol and the first element of the periodic table of elements. It's the hydrogen atom, and it's sitting over a reversed Gemini twin, which is the symbol of the yin yang. So it looks like they took it from her third eye. I was actually saw that the historians did not agree that the shape of the cut of the stone corresponded to an eye. So the fable, when it speaks of the eye of the idol, is speaking of the third eye. The stone that was taken from her third eye, not from her like facial feature or structures when it was defiled. So that debunks that part of the history. It was her third eye. And see how he used a trident. The number 3. Once again, the trident where he poked her right there. See? He's poked her right there to pry it out. And at that moment, the curse of the reverse yin-yang of the Gemini was released because it upset the balance. He became the smug merchant and gained too much fortune too quickly. And it changed the balance. So it looks as though the legend and the fable coming from North India and the Punjabi is, from what my cards are saying, it looks like the legend is true, but the scientists definitely did say that it did not look like it was taken from her regular facial feature of an eye, and my reading says it was taken from her third eye. It was pried away with metal from her third eye. That's right. Now, do we have any more questions here? Because we're going to keep it beautifully blue. Oh, so now we go to the 16th century and King Louis. Now, Mr. Claude Travesseurnier has the stolen rock, and he has become filled with lust for his precious jewel, because although he can hold the rock, he has not sold it, but he has made a caravan trip to the palace of Versailles and King Louis XIV. So now let's look at the purchase, the very first exchange of money for this rock, which happened, I believe it was in the 16th century in France. This looks really interesting, you guys. And we're going to take a visit to the time of the purchase. We're going to see what happened when the Sun King, Louis XIV, decided that the ultimate rock that he needed to have, because it became his highest of the crown jewels. Here it is. Yep, there's King Louis sitting with that rock. Supposedly nobody else was allowed to touch the rock because of the legend, other than King Louis, who essentially dubbed himself the Sun King. So we're going to take a look now at the very first exchange of money for this, what used to be a healing stone and used for coronation purposes and for Kundalini, on the Kundalini idol. in the Punjabi temple, where it originated over 6,000 years ago as a gemstone. Let's take a look at the purchase, the very initial purchase of the Hope Blue Diamond. The Seven of Pentacles. That is somebody looking at their rocks and somebody else looking at how much money. That's bartering. This is actually counting. This is counting rocks. So what this is saying is that when King Louis purchased that one rock, he purchased a whole bag of diamonds from the diamond dealer. King Louis was very renowned for having merchants come to the palace with their goods of silk, and he decided that here's King Louis looking at Claude. There's Claude. See, I dug up this rock for you, bud, and here they are. Here's his bag of rocks. See, look, here's all my diamonds. That's him showing up with a bag of diamonds. But ooh, look, there was one extra one that very, very precious. The very famous Blue Hope Diamond, which is now sitting in the Smithsonian Institute. Ooh, here's the very first purchase. This doesn't look good because it ends up in a hanged man. Somebody's not going to be in a good shape after the purchase. Hi, I'm King Louis. Here he is. There's King Louis, adorned with all his fanciful. He's got his crown studded with jewels, and his brooches and his braids and his staff. And here's King Louis. And once again, we said that Claude is at the palace with Diamonds Day. Louis showed up. Ooh, this is a card of judgment, but it's not saying that King Louis was really looking at the rocks in that way. He was looking at the Hope Diamond so that he could put it as a crown jewel. So when the king saw that rock, you see how he wanted to elevate himself? This is him saying, I choose to elevate myself and my monarchical family. These are his offspring, right? There was Louis the 15th and then Louis the 16th. That's right. King Louis the 14th says, I will take this rock and it will become the rock of King Louis the 15th and King Louis, my grandson. He knew it was stolen because this is the recent past. This means that just before King Louis purchased the rock, it was stolen. Literally a thief in the night. Didn't we just say that Claude Travasnier stole it at night? He crept away, a thief in the night. It was stolen. And this is also inferring that King Louis knew the rock was obtained through unholy means. He knew. The purchase. The 9. The 9 is the number of elite. This puts King Louis above the other royals of Europe. This is King Louis looking at himself as above the King of England, the King of Denmark, the King of the Netherlands. Oh, by the way, the Netherlands has been some bad blood going on between them and France for quite some time. Put himself above the King of Spain, put himself above all the other kings, establishing himself as the ultimate resource of jewels and finery. King Louis's definition was his hall of mirrors and his gilded gold. He was setting himself above the other elitists of the monarchs of Europe by setting a standard of opulence that the French people could not support economically. This is him saying, I don't care if I have to bankrupt my own people, I'm getting this rock. This is the purchase of the blue rock. It's Louis's ultimate demise. The fable says that it took him down, that he died of gangrene of an injury after that. This is saying that it took King Louis out. So the fable that the rock actually caused the final downfall of King Louis XIV is affirmed by this reading. Wow, you guys. This is what I'm saying about taking on diamonds that have been, how shall I say, usurped through unholy means. All right? You don't want to be handling rocks that are taken off of a holy place. Now we move to King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. And let's look at their ultimate demise and the connection between the Hope Diamond and then we are completing our readings today. Thanks for the likes, everybody. Thanks for coming. And so our very last question today, and we're going to do a double 9 card spread. Is on King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. I just cut the deck. Ooh. Marie Antoinette and King Louis XIV were living a life of luxury, but it was at the expense of others, and they were turning away from the people, and thus the French Revolution happened. But in the meantime, they had filled their cups with all kinds of fineries and treats, cakes and diamonds and big parties, but it's a card of illusion. They were basically operating on borrowed time. The 9 card spread of King Louis, Marie Antoinette, the connection to the stone, and the ultimate outcome. There's King Louis, and there's his wife Marie. And here is the third party. In the first position, we have King Louis XVI. His lineage to King Louis XV was how the stone was passed to him. So this is saying that King Louis XVI's ultimate connection to the rock was through his lineage, which was passed to him by King Louis XV, but it was cursed. As you can see, by the time it got to King Louis XV, the blue rock, see the little emblems? The little blue stones, the blue diamonds were cursed. They were cursed by the The devil is the eagle influence. So King Louis the 15th passed it to King Louis the 16th with the curse. It literally is saying this in the cards. Here's Marie in the Marie Antoinette position with all her jewels, the Queen of Coins. There she is. She's got the rock underneath her. It doesn't show her holding the rock as a part of her costume, because the fable says that Marie did not touch it and therefore she should have been held safe. It's the French Revolution, you guys. Yeah, this is the Six of Swords. This is saying that the people are going to be, this is actually saying that she tried to escape the palace on that day by leaving in the carriage. This is the day of the French Revolution because it's so significant and the connection that the blue diamond has. So it looks like she took the diamond with her in the carriage when she escaped. And there they are, the king and the queen escaping in the carriage. Here's the connection to the Hope Diamond. Ooh, this is interesting, you guys. Underneath Louis the 16th is the Queen of Clubs. He actually looks like he was having an affair with another queen. Oh, my. They were rather prolific sexually at court. So it looks like his ultimate demise has something to do with a foreign leader, a queen who he was having an affair with. And in the end, the news came for him that, he was summoned. All right. Now, the queen had the revolutionaries screaming off with her head. They had the guillotine set up for her. And let's face it, in this whole reading is really about the Hope Diamond's connection. Remember how when the card of justice came up the last in every single reading, first it came in as the economical justice, saying that the curse was put onto the rock when it was stolen. Then when it was purchased by King Louis of the 14th, he made the judgment that he wanted to become higher and greater than the others. But as you can see, the number 11, in the end, Antoinette and the 16th were beheaded. And even though, and this is the Empress, she was that because they thought of her as being the opulence, the symbol of opulence. It was the jewel that established her as the symbol of opulence. Okay, so during the revolution, they escaped in a carriage and they took the diamond with them because it was their most precious jewel and was part of these crown jewels. See how they had kept it as their ultimate prize? This is how they felt about it. They thought of the Hope Diamond as being the star of their jewels show. Okay, so ultimately it led to the people turning against her because they felt that the brazen show of opulence, the brazen show of opulence brought the crowd forward with their emotions against her. And there they decided, they took her from the carriage. There she is sitting in the carriage. Yeah. So I think what happened with the jewel, because the king held the jewel, and this is the 3 of coins. When the Marie and Louis were taken out, okay, the 3 of coins said that the revolutionaries took the coin and stashed it. They took, And they started a lot of rumors and legends and mysteries to subvert the truth. But they put it away. They locked it up. They got hold of that jewel and locked it up. And they took the empress and they beheaded her. And ultimately, the curse of the jewel was lifted because they paid the price for the thievery, that monarchical royal family. Wow. All right. Once again, this is for entertainment purposes only, just a tarot reading for fun, to find out how energetically the stone released its curse so that it could come to be at the Smithsonian Institute and rest there peacefully and not be used as a power grab by the King Louis family of the 16th century in order to gain false power to rule over others in Europe, to become basically the rulers through extreme opulence. It was just basically part of their demise to lust for too many rocks. And thus the diamond took out both Claude Travestio by leveling his resources, and he died as a poor man. And King Louis, who originally purchased it, was afflicted with a horrible foot wound which took him out. And the 15th monarch was usurped by evil and wickedness, and thus passed the rock to the 16th king. And the revolutionaries took this most sacred stone, which originated as the Kundalini goddess, and healing practices used for coronation and healing was what we read. It was in the third eye of the Kundalini goddess idol. Thanks, everyone, for coming to watch our beautiful diamond mystery. We're going to be back in a couple of weeks, and we're going to look more at diamonds because we're going to be talking diamonds for a little while. Namaste. Love to all. Have a beautiful day.